Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with Jay Dash. Going to keep the Steeler football talk going. Talked about the Jets last week. Let's talk about the Miami Dolphins this week, and we'll probably do another episode today about the New England Patriots. That's 3 games in a row against the AFC East. Is that going to cause an issue for the Steelers?
Not unless the AFC East is beast mode.
They're pretty much garbage.
Well, I don't know, man. We both said we like Miami, and anyone can win this division if New England doesn't.
There are a bunch of teams that are very close to each other, so it'll end up looking like it's garbage because they'll beat each other up, and other than New England, you know, you don't really see a team with a great record. But I think they're all pretty formidable opponents. This game's in Miami. That's going to be really tough for Pittsburgh. I don't want to say we don't travel well, but the offense doesn't play as well when we're not at home. Lev Bell, we all found out now, will only be suspended for 3 games, so he'll be back for this game. I still don't know. I think this is going to be a really tough game for Pittsburgh. I think Miami can sneak up on you. New head coach Adam Gase is kind of letting Ryan Tannehill be more free in the offense, call more audibles. He's trying to design the offense around what Tannehill feels more comfortable with, whereas it felt like Joe Philbin was trying to just shove everything down Tannehill's throat and saying, you have to do it my way, and not really playing to the strength of his franchise quarterback.
Well, it needs to be that way. It's kind of surprising. They were 6-10 last season, had the least points scored in the division at 310, not even close to anybody else. And they let up the most points in the division defensively as well at 389. So that's kind of a surprise to me. But they did make some moves here in the offseason. They brought over Arian Foster at running back. They still have Jay Ajayi, and they're saying he's the starter or whatever, but I think Arian Foster will take that job. And they drafted Laramie Tunzel as well to block for him. So I think that's a big addition as well. And we both said Jarvis Landry is a beast. He's the number 1 out there, and I think him and Tannehill can do big things, and we need to see Devontae Parker step up this season. We've seen some good things out of him last year, but we need to see him take that next step this year.
Did they add somebody along the D-line with Ndamukong Suh?
No, man. They lost Oliver Vernon, though.
All right, that's what happened. I knew that something happened along that D-line. They still got Cameron Wake, too, though, I believe. So, I mean, he's always been a good defensive player. But Ndamukong Suh was brought in, I believe it was before the start of last season, got that huge contract. You would think that their defense would be a little better. I think that they were just trying to find a season to gel. And I mean, like you said, they gave up the most points in the division, so there's not a whole lot more you could go down. But I think the defense will be a little better this year.
You got to remember, too, New England, New York, and Buffalo all have solid defenses as well. But, I mean, I can see more Miami's defense being the worst in the division rather than the offense. I mean, I like what they got going on out there offensively. I like what they had last year. Tannehill has looked good for a couple of years now. If he can take the next step, and with all these pieces they added around him, I think they can do big things this season, but I guess we'll still have to see. It's not like it's murderer's row out there or anything, but this is the Pouncey game. But Mike Pouncey is actually injured right now.
Yeah, they said he might miss week 1 and possibly a few more weeks after.
He should be back for this game, though, hopefully. Although Marquise might not be healthy by that time.
You never know. DeCastro could take his knee out. I think it's going to be whichever offense plays better in this game. I think the Steelers' offense matches up pretty well against the Dolphins' defense, but I also think the Dolphins' offense matches up very well against our defense. The Dolphins like to get the ball in the hands of their playmakers quick, and the Steelers struggled with tackling last year. Now, they could improve this year, but we haven't seen them play really outside of the preseason, which means nothing. So as of right now, you would assume that they need to still improve that tackling. And Jarvis Landry and Devontae Parker, I mean, these guys, they can move with the ball in their hands. Arian Foster, I mean, we haven't played him a lot when he was down in Houston, but he gave us trouble. That zone gap, that cutback runner has always given the Steelers fits, and this will be an interesting matchup, and I think this could end up being an L for the Steelers if they're not careful.
They also have this guy, Leonte Carew, who they are real high on right now. He's had a good offseason. Well, they drafted him in the 3rd round. Since they drafted him, they liked everything they've seen, obviously, and he's played pretty well in the preseason, although they are stacked at receivers, so I don't know how much playing time he's going to get or whatever, but, I mean, they have a tough schedule before they play Pittsburgh. Look, at Seattle to start the season, at the Patriots in week 2, which isn't as bad without Tom Brady. Then they play the Browns, but then go on the road again against the Bengals, and then play the Titans, who I think have a pretty good offensive as well, and I think they could be a little bit of a surprise this season. Then they do play Pittsburgh here on October 16th.
The Steelers, was that a hurricane or a tropical storm or whatever, that one game down in Miami when the ball got punted and then literally just stuck right into the ground?
Yeah, I think actually me and Easy went to a preseason game against Miami as well, and there was a bunch of rain and lightning and everything. We were just sitting there all drunk eating Permani Brothers, and I don't even know if the game ever happened. They might have canceled it. I can't remember.
Should have sued them like the dudes in the Hall of Fame game.
I didn't pay anything for the tickets.
Expect to see a lot of rain in this game is kind of what I'm getting at.
Maybe.
I'm just guessing here, really. But I don't know. Like I said, this is going to be a tough game. The Steelers' offense matches up well. Antonio Brown matches up well with everybody. So, I mean, unless you're freaking Rod Woodson in his prime, you're going to have a hard time covering Antonio Brown. It's can Miami's defense shut down the other playmakers for the Steelers? Will Le'Veon Bell be starting to hit his stride now? Because let's face it, he hasn't played since, the midpoint, basically, of last year, around that. He's not going to play the first 3 games of the season, so this will be, game 3 for him? Will he hit that stride? Will he get into that extra gear and be able to do what he normally can do? Hopefully that'll be this game for Pittsburgh, where they're really finding everything out, really starting to click as an offense. It just worries me that they're on the road, because it just, historically, Ben Roethlisberger himself, he'll tell you he hasn't played as well on the road. They win, you know what I mean? They've obviously won a lot of games in his career, but the offense doesn't seem to perform as well on the road, and nobody's ever really been able to figure out why.
And something we were saying before, this will be their first game outside of Pennsylvania after week 1 when they play in Washington. So this will be the first time. I have a bad feeling they're going to lose this game. Actually, the season that they looked like they were out of it and they won the last 5 games, and then Kansas City screwed that game at the end of the season.
Right.
That was the season that I believe they lost to Miami in the very end when they threw a hook and ladder, and it might have been Mike Wallace ran down the sideline, maybe Antonio Brown, I can't remember which one it was, and they stepped out of bounds at the 5-yard line in the snap. Yeah. So crazy things happen in Miami Steeler game, so we'll have to see.
Can the Steelers get to Ryan Tannehill in this game too? Because the Steelers are trying to rush with 4 men now. The Blitzburg days, I'm not saying they're over, but the Steelers understand that their weakness on defense is their defensive backfield. So if they can get consistent pressure with 4 guys as opposed to having to bring that extra blitzer, then it gives them obviously more people to help cover. So can those 4 guys get to Tannehill? Can they start to disrupt his timing and his patterns with these receivers? Because like we said earlier, they like to get the ball out of their hands quick and get it into the hands of the receivers, so it's a lot of timing routes. And if you can get to Tannehill early, if you can get pressure up the middle on this guy and hit him, he gets a little flustered, and that's when he starts to make mistakes. And he's not completely free of mistakes. Tannehill will take chances. So if you can capitalize on it, and the Steelers' defense did do that pretty well last year, they got a lot of turnovers, they can obviously win this game. I'm not saying they have no chance. I just think that this is going to be one of the bigger tests for the Steelers early, midway through the season, whatever you want to call it.
Well, if they do get to Tannehill, the thing that scares me is Arian Foster. You can dump it off to him real early, so it's going to be up to someone like probably Ryan Shazier to take care of that and shadow him all game, you know?
I think Shazier is going to have a big year for the Steelers defense to be successful. He's going to have to stay healthy, stay on the field, and he's going to have to be that. And I don't mean the same type of player as Troy Polamalu. I just mean an impact player the same way that Troy was an impact player for this defense. I think Shazier has to be that guy for the Steelers. Now, could this also be a problem for the Steelers where they will be looking ahead to next week? Will they be worried about playing Brady at home? The Steelers are at home, and overlook this Dolphins offense?
I don't think they would do that. They usually are the team to lose to the terrible teams. I don't think Miami's a terrible team.
They're not bad enough for us to
they're not bad enough to overlook and lose to. They'll have their head on straight for this game. But if it was someone like the Cleveland Browns, well, I shouldn't say the Cleveland Browns because you'll hate on me because they're going to be beasts this season. But if it was, I don't know, who's bad? Who's bad now?
Everybody. Who had the first pick in the draft?
The Detroit Lions might be bad.
Yeah, the Lions are garbage.
The Rams.
The Rams, well, they've been 7-9.
They need
Jeff
a good
Fisher's
quarterback,
motto.
though.
Let's go 7-9, 8-8, and then I'll just take the franchise to a new city. He's
San
done it
Francisco
twice.
sucks.
Yeah, they're garbage.
Yeah, there's some bad teams out there. So if it was San Francisco, I could see them overlooking them and then losing that game. But I think Miami, that they know not to overlook this team. Especially, well, I mean, who knows if everything goes right, anyways, for the Miami Dolphins. Like I said, they have a tough schedule, so they could overlook them if Miami's coming into this game at what?
0-5.
Well, not even that, like 2-3, 1-4, something like that. You don't know.
Hey, the Yinzer Steeler fans think we're going to go 16-0, so some people are just crazy.
I don't know, man. We'll have to see. One of these receivers got to step up,
Believe
and
it.
got to step up by the time this game rolls around as well.
There's no way this offense averages 30 points a year this year with losing Le'Veon for 3 games, losing Martavis for the whole season.
You wouldn't think so.
Injuries are going to catch up somewhere. I mean, Ladarius Green's already not playing. He may not play week 1. I just don't see it. I'm not saying they're going to be bad. I just don't think 30 points.
I said, I think it depends on, well, first of all, Ladarius Green, is he going to be healthy this season? I think he will be. I think we talked about this before, and the media over-exaggerated it a little bit. But also, Sammy Coates, I think he's going to be the one that makes a difference of whether or not this offense is a beast or just good. Because Marcus Wheaton, they keep saying he's the guy that's going to have to step up. I think we've seen enough of him by now that he's a good receiver, but he's not going to be a difference maker. I mean, maybe once or twice a season. What did we see last year? The 200-yard game or whatever.
Ridiculous.
I mean, that's fine and everything. I'll take it all day long, and I'll take what he did last season as a number 3, number 4 receiver, but I don't think he can be that guy opposite of Antonio Brown.
Agreed. I like him better in the slot than you do, but I agree that he's just not a difference maker, a playmaker. He's just a role player. Anything else for the fans?
No, man.
Win, lose, I know we're not giving official predictions, but I'm going to say this could be a loss for the Steelers.
Yeah, I'd have to say so, too.
Definitely, probably the most probable loss, because I know we go to Washington at one point, but I think this is going to be
Kansas City's a tough one.
Is Kansas City at home, though?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this will be, for me at least, the toughest matchup of this early part of the season for the Steelers. And then knowing that they have New England the next week makes it even a little tougher, because you don't want to lose that game and then lose to New England. You know Brady's going to be pissed off by the time he gets back. I hope he doesn't just light us up.
Well, it can't be any worse than week 1 of last season.
Please believe. Fans, any questions or comments, anything you want to say, just hit us up on Twitter at bet_the_spread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to YouTube and click and subscribe. The best Steelers coverage there is. You got nothing, Bob Labriola.